All right, today we're going under the hood to check out something called AgentDrive. It's a revolutionary new driving test. But get this, it's not for humans.
So how do you even test a car's brain? I mean, we're not just talking about whether it can follow directions from a GPS, right? The real question, the big one, is can it actually think like a driver? And maybe even more important, can it be safer, more reliable than a human?
You know, the real world out there, it's messy. It is full of unpredictable people, drivers who aren't paying attention, and weather that just pops up out of nowhere. That's the real test for an AI, making those smart, safe, split-second decisions.
Okay, so to tackle this huge challenge, some researchers have built a totally new kind of driving test. But yeah, this one isn't for you or me. It's for the AI that one day is going to be doing all the driving for us.
And it's called AgentDrive. Its whole mission, its entire purpose, is to figure out if an AI can genuinely reason its way through traffic. And how does it do that? By throwing just a staggering 300,000 different driving scenarios at it.
The easiest way to think about it is like the ultimate driving exam for an AI. And just like our tests, it's got two parts. You've got the road test, which is those 300,000 simulations, and then you've got the theory test, a 100,000 question exam to really see how it thinks. So you've got to be wondering, right? Where do all of these incredibly complex test scenarios even come from? I mean, they're not just pulling them out of a hat.
Turns out, they're built in what you could call a virtual scenario factory, and it's powered by large language models. Yep, the same kind of AI that runs things like ChatGPT. So these AIs are literally dreaming up, describing in detail, and then validating every possible situation a car might run into. And the end result? It's a mind-boggling 300,000 unique driving scenarios. We're talking everything from a simple, everyday lane change to some of the wildest, most complex situations you can imagine, the stuff that really pushes an AI to its absolute limits.
And to make sure these tests are actually tough and comprehensive, every single scenario is a cocktail mixed from 7 different ingredients, or axes. So you might get a scenario that combines, say, a tricky roundabout in heavy fog, surrounded by aggressive drivers. By mixing and matching all these variables, AgentDrive makes sure it's covering pretty much every base.
And what's really cool is how well balanced it all is. As you can see here, the scenarios are almost perfectly split between easy, medium, and hard. This makes it a really fair, but also really thorough evaluation.
All right, so that's the road test. Now let's talk about the theory exam. It's called AgentDrive MCQ. And this is where we really start to get inside the AI's head to test its actual cognitive and ethical reasoning.
The exam itself is broken down into 5 distinct categories, and each one is designed to test a totally different kind of intelligence, from raw physics calculations all the way to really subtle judgment calls.
So you can see here it starts with the fundamentals, right? Like, does the AI understand basic physics, braking distance, motion, that kind of stuff? Does it know the traffic laws? But then it gets way harder. It starts testing if the AI can combine all that knowledge, understand the big picture of a situation, and ultimately choose the absolute safest action out of several options. Okay, so here's the moment we've been waiting for. The big question. They put 50 of the world's top AI models through this whole exam. So how did they do? Well, the results, they're pretty fascinating.
So as you might expect, the big proprietary models like ChatGPT 4o, they led the pack. But here's what's really interesting. Some of the best open source models like Qwen were right on their heels. That just goes to show you how incredibly fast this entire field is moving.
Okay, now this chart is where things get really insightful. It breaks down performance into 2 key skills. On one axis, you have book smarts. Basically, how well does the AI follow the rules? On the other, you have street smarts. Can it understand the messy, real-world context? The goal, obviously, is to be in that top right corner, high in both.
And this really gets to the single biggest takeaway from the whole study. The top AIs, they are excellent at following the rules. Their book smarts are off the charts, but they really start to struggle when they have to blend those rules with the complex physics of the real world.
So to put it another way, their biggest strength is understanding the what of a situation. They can interpret the context really well. But their biggest weakness is the how to act when you have to combine traffic laws with real-world physics, like, say, calculating braking distance on a wet road in a split second.
And here's a perfect example. Look at the top model, ChatGPT 4o. On scenario understanding, it scored an incredible 95%, nearly perfect. But when it came to just pure physics questions, its score plummeted to 55%.
And then that hybrid category, mixing the two, was somewhere in between. That gap is the core problem that developers need to solve.
So let's bring this all together. Why does a test like AgentDrive even matter? I mean, what does this all mean for the future of driving?
It matters because, for the first time, developers have a diagnostic tool, a way to pinpoint the exact weaknesses in their AI's reasoning, and once you can find the problem, you can fix it. This makes the path to building a truly smart and truly safe brain for our cars clearer than it has ever been.
And really, that brings us to the final most important point. This isn't just about an AI passing a test. It's about building trust, our trust. With benchmarks like AgentDrive guiding the way, the question isn't really if we'll have truly autonomous cars anymore. The question is, when will we finally trust an AI to drive better than we do?